Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our April Council meeting. Lovely to see you all here. Lovely to see you online, Liz. Let's open as we normally do with a karakia. Could you please open us, Dalmarie?
Tēnā koe te manukura, tēnā tātou I te whare, tēnā koe nā te kaungunu I tau mai nei I roto. Tēnā koe Liz, I runga I te upurangi, kōrua tahi ko Mike. Tūtawa mai I runga, tūtawa mai I raro, tūtawa mai I roto, tūtawa mai I waho. Kia tau ai te Māori tū, te Māori ora ki te katoa, haumi e hui e tai ki e I te tuatahi aroha ana ki te whānau kahukiwa I tēnei wiki. E moe e te whaia I tō moingaroa, and just for everybody, just recognising the passing of Robin Kahukiwa at this time, quite a profound figure of ours in Māoridom. So, tēnā tātou.
Thank you, Dalmarie. And thank you for sharing that information with us. Sad loss, indeed. Okay, so on to our agendas. Before us, opening comments. Look, I don't have a great spiel to share with us today. I feel like we seem to be meeting very regularly at the moment, but I just wanted to, on that vein, acknowledge the hard work and commitment of staff across the organisation at the moment, mindful of the really extended hours and commitment that they're all showing, and correspondingly so the elected member input, and turning our minds to some of the more challenging topics we're having to deal with. So I just really wanted to acknowledge and thank you all for hanging in there and yeah, giving up a lot more of your time than probably you expected to at this time of year. So look, just without any further ado, let's just crack into the actual agenda. Apologies. Now, I have apologies from Councillor Coles and originally had some from Councillor Pettit, but I believe Mike is joining us online, so I won't lodge his apologies as he will be attending virtually along with Liz. So I have the one apology then from Philip. I will move that we accept that, and Claire will second that. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Fabulous. Disclosure of members' interests. Any interests that people wish to disclose in respect of this agenda today? No. Oh, good morning, Mike. That looks very sunny where you are. No. You're muted though, but we don't have weather like that here. So stop showing off. Anyway, look, we'll crack into it. No, we've done the disclosures of members' interests. Oh, now he's driving. Late items. I'm not aware of there being any late items. Nobody's jumping up and telling me I've got it wrong, so that's great. Moving on then to the confirmation of the order of meeting. Now whilst the order doesn't change, I just wanted to flag that there is a small change. Unfortunately, the delegation item will need to be removed today. Unfortunately, we had teed up a speaker who, for reasons beyond her control, was unable to be with us today. Professor Tahu Kukutai is a professor of demographics from the Waikato University, was going to come in and have a session with us. So look, she's tendered an apology, and she will be joining us, I believe, in June. May or June. Yeah. We are looking to. So yeah, so that was a small change. It's not really a change of order. It's just saying that that's not there. On that basis, we don't need a. We do? Okay. I will move that from the chair. Dalmarie will second it. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Great. Now we have two lots of confirmation of minutes. The first one there appearing, the recommendation appears on page 9 from our meeting held on the 19th of March, circulated and so on and so forth. Claire?
Yeah, there's just a few typographical errors, that's all, in both of them. Yeah. So.
Okay, and have you've provided that to staff, haven't you?
Yep,
cool.
It's just a comma missing and then the names of the members.
Excellent.
And I think the second lot, are you doing both in at the same time?
Well, no, I have to do them separately.
Yeah.
So you're happy with having been communicated?
Yes.
So can I invite you to move it?
Yes.
And Bruce will second it. I'll put the motion that they're read and confirmed as true and correct. That meeting. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Cool. The next set of minutes then appear on page 13. And they relate to our this 26th of March meeting. And you will move that for us, Lou? With subject to typographical changes, absolutely. I best not second it because I did disappear for the last couple of minutes. And Claire will second that. I'll put the motion that all those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Cool. Brilliant. As I said, tab 8 in respect to the deputation is no longer, so that gives us the opportunity to launch straight then into the item appearing on tab 9 of our agenda at page 20. Which is the consultation on draft schedule of fees and charges. Good morning, Melissa. Nice to see you. The floor is yours.
Morning. So the purpose of this report is to present for adoption the consultation on the draft schedule of fees and charges and the corresponding statement of proposal. So separate to rates, fees and charges are used where we can attribute the cost of the service to a particular individual or user group. So these are things like dog registration fees, issuing of a library book, or where a group or individual hires a community facility. So the fees and charges as presented through the report, they've been developed in alignment with the revenue and financing policy. That's obviously been reviewed as part of the long-term plan process. But the policy sets, I guess, just for broader context, the policy does set out the public versus private good element. So the public good portion is funded by rates, and the private good portion obviously been set through the fees and charges themselves. I think the other thing to note through this report is just a slight change in approach for this year, this time round. So normally we would obviously consult on the fees and charges as part of the long-term plan process. Given the delays with the long-term plan, we have had to consult on the fees and charges separately. This will enable us to adopt fees and charges before the end of financial year. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Melissa. Questions of Melissa? Claire?
Yeah, thanks. Look, I'm really happy with the document. Generally, you know, it's pretty much what we saw at the end of last year. There were a few changes and I picked up just a few typographical or context or syntax things. So you're happy to take those on board? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, of course, paragraph D of the recommendation enables that anyway. So if you can forward those to staff, that would be helpful. Thank you, Claire. Any other questions? Monty?
Yeah, just one question right at the end. It's to do with the purchase of water by permit. That was sitting in there as a placeholder to be included with the final LTP budget approval. Now we're going out early. They've had to have a number put in. And I just wanted to query that if there's risk that number might end up being inaccurate. I realise that's a real detailed question.
It is a detailed question. I would probably have to follow up with the team on that one and come back to you.
Look, I suspect it's fine. It was just something I thought, that's interesting. Okay, yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Marcus?
This might be a Dawn question, but I'm just wondering with the talking about the different building contractors with the water connectors and things like that, our fees and charges, is there going to be an opportunity to talk directly to people like Core Steel and stuff about the connection issues and the fees and charges?
Dawn? Did sound like a Dawn issue.
Yeah.
Dawn question, but my apologies, it's a very short answer. Sorry. Morena, everyone, is consultation opportunity with those particular stakeholders. But obviously we've provided a lot of information in terms of some of the background as to the rationale of why those charges are the way they are.
Thanks, Dawn. Dale Marie.
Tēnā tātou, tēnā korua. Sorry, Dawn, I don't think this one is for you. And sorry if I've missed this. I'm looking at the cemeteries fees and how we're going up 10%, and then in the next year we're going up 15%. I missed that one. How come there's another change going up the year later?
I'll ask Yolanda to answer that question for me.
Good morning. That was part of the discussion when we looked at the revenue and finance policy bands. And at the time, the direction was to increase it with 10% in year 1, 15, and then to bring us in line with the requirements in the revenue and finance policy. We also did do a benchmarking against other cemeteries around the district.
The supplementary, can we please have a look at the South Taranaki and look at the different fee structure? I think it's South Taranaki, and look at the different fee structures that they have down there, and just, it would be nice to see if there's a, yeah, I'll come back to you offline on this one, because when at Te Maruata, it was highlighted the different fee structures that are being implemented across different councils, and I was quite interested to see where we are in comparison to some of that stuff. So tēnā koe Yolanda, tēnā koe Melissa.
Well, thank you, Dale Marie. Any other questions in respect of this paper? We have obviously had it before us in some way or shape or form. No other questions? Okay, so we have a recommendation then appearing on page 20 to obviously receive Ms. Melissa's report, approve for public consultation the draft schedule of fees as it appears in Appendix 1, and adopt the draft statement of proposal and delegates to Kirsty the ability to make final typographical changes or editorial polish ups as is necessary. Do I have anybody who's happy to move that for us? Andrew will move that. Do I have a seconder? Marcus will second that. I'll put the motion then. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Great. Thank you very much, ladies. Once again, thank you for all your hard work. Next item, Kirsty. Nice to see you, Kirsty. This is Waikato City and regional deal proposals. Another piece that has been taking up a fair amount of people's brain space and time, but nice to see you, Kirsty. The floor is yours.
Morena koutou. Through the chair, I would like to respectfully request that this report be taken as read. As you're well aware, a light touch proposal has been developed and submitted to central government at the end of February. That follows an initial indication of interest that was lodged pre-Christmas. This work has been led by the Mayoral Forum, and the reason why we're reporting back to you for information, one, so that you're fully aware, and two, so that our community have awareness, and three, because this was developed with input from Mayor Susan and in reliance on a general delegation to the Chief Executive. So to ensure that we close that loop and meet that reporting back requirement. You'll see there in the report and in the documentation attached in the appendices that there are 4 initiatives that have been, I guess, comprise the proposal that's been put forward. And I've also outlined there the timeframe for the progress of this process, which we hope will bring to a close with the first deal finalised at the end of the calendar year. Attachments are the proposal, the light touch proposal, and the letter that was submitted prior to the end of 2024. Happy to respond to any questions. I'm sure I will also be ably supported by Mayor Susan and Steph. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kirsty. Claire.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. It's really a pretty interesting document, actually. And I was just wondering, like, what's the next steps or the next, you know, I suppose when you is expecting a response, you know, like what can we expect to see coming up, I suppose in the next few months, and are there any chances to tweak some of the information and stuff like that?
Okay, kia ora, Claire. Great question. No, the applications from various regions are now with government, and so there isn't the opportunity to tweak anything. And that will be a little bit of the challenge going forward, is that 11 councils, I don't know how many elected members that is, we're going to have to keep our eyes to the horizon and focus on the big stuff in it. But once it's, and so that's why we've got the sort of the secretariat working on it, but they have been submitted to government. I understand that Cabinet is reviewing the applications. There's been a lot of work in central government to get ready to receive the applications from various regions and process them according to the criteria that Cabinet has set. And I understand that Cabinet might be meeting at the end of May to consider the applications with an announcement for a very comprehensive but speedy process to sign the first regional deal before the end of the year, and expecting at this stage there to be only one, but there may be a signal for one or two max, and a signal to who might come in. We call it the gold ticket and the silver ticket. There might be who's coming in the silver ticket in 2026. So who gets an indication that they're next in line? And what I would like to say is that I think the regional deal is a really exciting opportunity, but I do think that if we weren't in the gold ticket and we were in the silver tickets category, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, because we need to get prepared and ready to be able to expedite this. And once Cabinet decides on who the recipients are, we will need to be ready to go. And we've been advised of that at speed. There will need to be decisions made by the mayoral forum because of the speed at which government will work. And so we'll need to think about the delegated authority that the mayoral forum will need to have to be able to respond to central government. So we look forward to hearing who the first recipients are, and then we'll work from there. So I would expect early June, I think, was it me, Susan? Yeah. Early June, we should hear who the first in line are.
I'm really pleased to see that the mayoral forum is leading this work. Yeah, I think it's the right body of people and leaders, to be doing that. I hope that we do get, you know, good reporting back, or, you know, in timely, so we don't have long delays, because I mean, it's pretty significant stuff. Yeah. And so, very interested in it. The tweaks that I was hoping to see actually is there was no mention about biodiversity and the huge strongholds that we have in the Waikato, actually, like not just in Waipa. Like I'm familiar, and you guys will be as well, of the strongholds we have here with Mangatautari, Pirongia, you know, the ecological corridor, and the species work that's done too. And then there was just no mention of like Te Ranga Waiwai or Rotorua, you know, like for the, you know, just monumental cultural centres that we have. I mean, there was Māori business in that, it was there, but there just seemed to be glaring holes.
So I think that what you're seeing too is a consequence. I hear you and I understand it. And look, I think none of us would disagree with those things that are incredibly valuable. The application as it went in was scrutinised many times between the team and central government, and biodiversity outcomes were not something that the government was looking for in a regional deal. So they are still high on the priority in other areas with the Minister of Conservation, but they weren't, and I'm just relaying what the reality of the situation is. So they just weren't the outcomes that the government is looking for in regional deals. They're looking for infrastructure and related developments that kick off housing growth, transport and employment opportunities. So I hear your point, but we, through a lot of toing and froing, the regional deal was packaged as it was. And another thing that I think that we were lamenting was because of the speed at which we worked, we weren't able to work as closely with partners like iwi partners as we'd like to, but we're all now in those conversations, and it was certainly raised at the Waikato Tainui JMA, that partnership and the linking of the conversations between iwi and their conversations with the Crown and ours, and through the likes of the mechanisms of regional deals need to be joined up, and we are stronger if we go together. So I think in the goodness of time, in the fullness of time, those other opportunities will come to the fore as well. But certainly hear your concerns. Oh, and sorry, Mayor Susan, can I just say, I think that the mechanisms by which councillors can be informed, updated, but the mayors can be empowered to move at speed, to put the Waikato in the best possible position to get the best possible regional deal when it comes, is something that each of the council CEs and the Secretariat for the regional deal at the moment have given great consideration to, because we are really aware that councillors will want to know what's going on and be updated. And so there needs to be some really smooth mechanisms for that continual updating, but knowing that it's moving at speed. Thanks, Mayor Susan.
Thank you, Steph. Lou?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that you're absolutely right, and I tend to agree with our CE, but this is predominantly, in my mind, an economic view of our community. It's not designed to go outside that parameter. So I look at it as something that we're improving, as I say, freight and all of these other things, and having opportunities to move our economies collectively together to actually enhance what we're doing, so that, you know, our exports and everything in our golden triangle. That's the way I look at it. So I would exclude perhaps some of the other things that were said, you know, saying that this is narrow in the fact that it's mainly economic.
Thanks, Lou. Any other questions for Kirsty in respect of this paper and the report? No. I guess underpinning this whole body of work is that notion that I keep repeating time and time again, which is what's good for my neighbour is good for me, and I'm really chuffed that that philosophy or way of thinking seems to permeate a lot of what we're doing in the Waikato at the moment, and it will be rewarding for us not only as the people who help make those decisions at the time, but I think in the future we will see that collaboration bear enormous fruit for our region. So look, I'm really delighted to have the opportunity to be able to receive your report, Kirsty. So much work being done on so many levels and so many offices around the Rohe. So I'm really comfortable with receiving it, the recommendation there on page 192. Do I have a seconder? Monty will. There being no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Aye. Carried. Thanks, Kirsty. Keep up the great work. Kirsty. Cracks me up how you call it the gold and the silver medals. It's no longer the rose ceremony. Me and my obsession with the Bachelor and stupid programs like that has died a natural death. We're talking medals now. We've given a rose. Look, sorry, I digress. It's a little bit childish. Next item on our agenda, a council submission paper. And lovely to see you, David. Good morning. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Morena, good morning all. Good to see you. I was a bit fearful I wouldn't make it this morning. I had to fetch my daughter from the airport first, and then I was told the agenda's moving forward quite a lot. Anyway, so I'm here. I'm relieved because I was told to, just go home, do it online. But I'd rather be here. Thank you. May I take the report as read? It is quite a comprehensive report, covers a diverse range of topics, but it's essentially about submissions we've either drafted or finished. And it's an update since the last report back in February to you on submissions. You'll be aware we are kept really busy by the level of change coming through from government, and it definitely keeps us on our toes. So the first two items are two draft submissions for you to please consider, and we seek your approval this morning. The first is to Taumata Arawai, the Water Regulator Authority, and that is regarding introduction of national standards for wastewater treatment. As you'll see in the notes with the report, there's good consultation mentioned in that and taking iwi considerations, treaty considerations into account. But we wanted to stress making sure that our local obligations were taken into account in that regard. The second submission, draft submission, is to the Parliamentary Justice Commission, and that is regarding proposed legislation that would enable the introduction of a 4-year term. But it's not just a straightforward bill. It is subject to a complex proportionality instrument and also being considered after every single election. So we have a draft submission on that, supporting a 4-year term, but doing away with the provisions for a select commission proportionality. The third item is a submission that was completed under delegated authority due to time constraints, and that was to the Commerce Commission, and it's regarding disclosure of information regarding water services. And then the last item is really just for your information. It's a copy of our in-house legislation tracker that Mika Haynes keeps up to date for us. Yeah, and that's it. And then I'll invite any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Very good summary of your paper and the attachments to it. Claire.
Thank you, Worship. So just on the proposed wastewater environmental performance standards, David.
Yep.
So just the draft submission as it stands. There's no statement to say that Waipa supports the intent of the proposal, for national environmental standards. It just goes into the fact that we were concerned about treaty settlements. Yeah, so I think it'd be good to say
add a statement that makes it clear we support. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I was just wondering whether it's appropriate to include in here our desire through the local water done well work that we will be able to achieve catchment-based environmental consenting.
So reference to catchment-based.
So it's relevant to wastewater discharge standards.
Yep.
And I would be pretty gutted if we do all that great work with the Waikato Water Done Well proposal and then we can't get that catchment-based stuff. So I think if we are including it in these kinds of submissions,
yeah,
we really need central government to be supporting that approach. Yeah. So those were the suggestions I was going to make.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
excellent points, Claire, both of them.
Yeah.
Probably critically for me that the last one more than the first, but yeah, absolutely. Sort of daylighting those and having those conversations and starting laying down that expectation is really critical, I think, at this point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Any other
appreciate it.
comments or questions? Del-Marie and then Roger.
No, not a question, David, but thank you. I've enjoyed reading the submissions and particularly seeing that all our obligations are in there. So tēnā koe.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, Del-Marie. Roger.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. David, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Great. Just support for the submission on the 4-year term and obviously the depth that you go into in the coordination of the 4-year term between central and local government. It all makes a lot of sense. If you don't do that, then it's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
So obviously the strong coordination there between local and national central government. So yeah, well done on that one. And in fact, well done on all 4, but I particularly like that one.
Thank you. Team effort.
Yeah, the alignment of central and local government elections was a topic of hotly debated issue at the Electoral Reform Working Group. and the cadence and timing. And I've actually had quite a few people ask me about whether there's any merit to having a super election, you know, all of it held on the same time. And I think the general consensus is that local government would have the potential of being lost in that, you know, the highlights would tend to focus to Wellington and less so local. So the proposal at the working group level is that to support a 4-year term, obviously, but to offset to 2, which again was not, we weren't all in agreement, but had a lot of discussion and eventually got to the point that we felt that was a better cadence.
Yeah, and I certainly support that aspect as well, because as we've seen, the philosophy of central government can change quite considerably with an election, and we've actually got to be able to respond to that, to take cognizance of whatever. And we've just had that, of course, with the NZTA and the change in the funding regime, which we've had to respond to quite quickly. So, yeah, certainly see that, yeah.
Lou.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. David, a great result. Thank you very much. I certainly concur with Councillor Bear on what they're talking about. I think a great advantage here is we're going to have national standards for a change. And that is something that I totally support, because we're just dealing with our own wastewater plant at the moment in Cambridge, and we have a nebulous situation where what we are complying with or not. You know, it says to the best standards of Pukekohe, but hey, that's not a standard. So we need to get standards. I would also concur with Councillor Gordon. I think it's absolutely important on the infrastructure to have longer terms, but also let us have more consensus in decision making. Okay, that to me is a critical thing that we have wrong in our society, is that we have infrastructure implemented and then halted for the next election. We've got to look at starting to say to our opposition parties, everybody work. And by that, I'm meaning that our subcommittees will be far better represented, both sides of the House, or all sides and all people, for the benefit of our whole country, because we have a major infrastructural deficit within our society at the moment. And we do need to actually correct that if possible. Thank you.
Cheers, Lou. Yeah, wise words. Have we any other questions for David in respect of his paper? I have a small change to the recommendation as it appears on page 276 to accommodate Councillor Clare's suggestions regards changes to the submission to Taumata Arawai. And it's just coming up on the screen for us now. So paragraph, everything's the same except for paragraph B, which notes that we will approves the council submission on Taumata Arawai's proposed wastewater environmental performance standards attached as Appendix 1, subject to making amendments to specifically support the performance standards, which was Clare's first point, and incorporate reference to the benefits of a catchment approach as part of Waikato Waters Done Well proposal. Absolutely, go for your life.
I'm just wondering, thank you governance team for putting that up and recording it so accurately from the conversation. Because it's a submission on a national piece of legislation, I'm just wondering about how we phrase that the last part. Because the Waikato Waters Done Well proposal
Is a local.
Yeah, as a local answer, as a local solution. And I completely agree that innovation and catchment-based approaches to performance standards should be considered. So I just wonder whether we and incorporate reference to the benefits of innovation in catchment-based approaches, and then bracket as referenced in the Waikato Waters Done Well proposal or something like that. So we put it in context as being a solution, but it's not something we expect to see in the ledge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally agree with that actually. And I thought you could just say that the Waikato's Water Done Well is an example of how it might be applied.
Yeah.
Although even though we haven't got any detail on that, it's just it's a concept that is a key part of that proposal, isn't it? So
Yeah. Thank you. Good suggestion.
The innovation of catchment approaches to achieving performance standards. That makes it very long, doesn't it? It makes it a very long sentence, but do you get my drift?
Yeah. One of the recommendations enables some minor changes to be made by Kirsty.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, David.
Based,
Not so much a response as an approach, yeah. And I mean, it should actually
yeah.
align quite well with a national standard. It's just that they seem to be still, caught up in individual discharges or quite localised effects, where we're trying to take a broader approach over the whole catchment, which should hopefully achieve water quality benefits, at a larger scale.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the change now is subject to making amendments to specifically support the performance standards and incorporate reference to the innovations of catchment approaches as referenced in the Waikato Waters Done Well proposal.
There's two references there.
Yeah, catch-up, so it could be perhaps
You could just
incorporate
have
reference to
incorporate the
the
innovations.
incorporate innovations of catchment approaches as referenced in, so if we can remove the first reference,
Yeah.
incorporate innovations.
May I suggest, once that's done, that innovation is not plural, it's innovation through catchment-based approaches.
So of can become through.
Yeah, through catchment-based approaches. I mean, there's probably other innovations as well, but let's leave it at that.
Yeah, so subject to making amendments to specifically support the performance standards and incorporate innovation through catchment-based approaches as referenced in the Waikato Waters Done Well proposal.
The principle there is you're wanting a catchment approach, not an individual death by 1,000 slices. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, great amendments there, Claire. So in terms of the balance of the recommendations remain unchanged, obviously to receive David's report, approve the Taumata Arawai proposal subject to the change in that paragraph, approve the submission to the Parliamentary Justice Committee in respect of the 4-year term, and delegates again to Kirsty to polish up a few bits and pieces if they're found to be slightly typographically challenged, and note the other submissions lodged under delegated authority in respect to the Commerce Commission matters in regards water services. So those are our recommendations. Do I have anybody who is comfortable to move that for us? Claire will move that, and Lou, can I invite you to second it? Excellent. I shall put the motion. You'll second it? Excellent. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Aye. Carried. Great stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you,
so
David.
much.
And thank you so much for getting here in haste. And delighted
Thank
to
you.
hear your daughter's
Good to see
with you. Yeah, I hope you didn't get any speeding tickets coming from the airport. Excellent, great stuff. Okay, then moving on to one of our standing items, which is the document signed under council seal. Nothing terrifying in there. Steph, I think this is one that you as CE usually address if there are any questions.
Yep, absolutely. Sorry, Ms. Susan.
Page 309.
These are just normal warrants
It's
to
just the one
execution
there.
of duties to
So we're just receiving that further recommendation. Andrew will move. I'll second. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Great. And then moving on to page 310, we have a resolution there to exclude the public. Grounds are set out there in that box. So Claire, were you happy to move that for me? And Bruce will